professor of communication at Oklahoma Christian University in Oklahoma City, where he teaches courses in leadership, ethics, theory, culture. Dr. Lowry is a former dean of arts and science, and before that, he taught at Pepperdine University in Malibu, California for 20 years. He is the author of the online Kendall Hunt text, Peacemaking 101, Interpersonal Approaches for Ending Drama and Conflict. And we're going to get to pick his brain today. Okay. Dr. Lowry has numerous presentations at national and international conferences and has led peer-reviewed teams all over the country on behalf of the Higher Learning Commission for the past 12 years. He also serves as a member of the HLC Institutional Actions Council. Dr. Lowry has served in higher education for over 40 years. Pay attention to that, folks. If you've not been here this long, pick his brain, okay? All right, earning his Bachelor of Science in Psychology at Abilene Christian University, he has a Master of Science in Human Relations and Management, and a PhD in College Teaching Interpersonal Communication from the University of North Texas. We'll let that know. Dr. Lowry's understanding of peacekeeping, organizational culture, and the unique role that communication plays in all of these will help aspiring educational leaders better understand their work in creating healthy cultures of care, creativity, and academic production. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. We're on good. Crystal, I think you're an excellent teacher. I don't know about you, but I don't think she got to do that. She left quickly after that. Let's give her a round of applause. I enjoyed your exercises there, and they are so vital. I know sometimes when you do these things, you think, will we actually use this stuff? And I have found, yeah, you really do. One of the things that came up at our table was that the person did exactly what they were told, but you could interpret it several different ways. And so they came up with a shape that was very different than what was on the table, but they had done exactly what they were told. And that's happened to me several times. I have this real arrogance that a lot of professors have that, like, why is everybody doing so bad on the test, you know? Or what is it with these papers? And then I look at the first paper, I just like C, D, you know, and then the next one comes along. They did the same thing, you know, and by the time the fourth paper comes up, I said, oh, let's look at the assignment sheet again. Oh, they're doing exactly what I said. It wasn't what was in my head, but it's exactly what I said. And I've become a little more humble over the years that when I start seeing that things aren't going exactly the way I think they should be, many times it's me. In fact, most of the time it's me. My students are doing the very best they can, and they're following the instructions, and you know, but it's their bonehead professor. I had these great ideas. I thought they were going to do them all. I put this thing up called Standing in the Gap today because I think that's what we're all trying to do right now. I don't know about you, but with COVID, at my school, a lot of people are taking jobs at other places. Education is not like the most popular thing to be doing in your life right now. The money is not flush. There's all kinds of reasons and things to go along, and we find people doing a lot of different jobs and wearing a lot of different hats. I don't think that would be for any of you, but I do take issue with one thing you said. You said you can't multitask. Every registrar I know multitask. Everybody who works in the admissions office, they're doing like 17 things at the same time, but you must be the only one.
That's the listening.
Okay, yeah, no, that was right there. I put a picture of me up here because they say whenever you give a talk, people want to know what is it that you do. These days, I'm a communication professor. I was a dean for 12 years. I go all over the country on accreditation visits. A few weeks I sit on a institutional actions council, and this is where when schools have been bad and they come up and their accreditations at stake, we have to review them. So I find myself doing mediation more than you might think. I have taken the mediation offered by the state of Oklahoma, so I can do mediation in family courts. It's also in small claims courts. So I've had some experience doing mediation. So from time to time on Title IX, some of you know about that, I get called in to do mediation so that when it doesn't rise to the occasion of a full-blown violation, but obviously somebody's got, strange ideas about what's great communication and what they ought to be saying. So I find myself doing a lot of peacemaking and mediation these days. I think I'm uniquely qualified to be a person to talk to you because I've made every mistake in the book. Okay, you don't do 40 years in academics without making a lot of mistakes. I wish I could relive my career doing a lot of the things I know today because I think it would have helped me. I hope as we talk about these things today, you'll find that there's something in there to help you. I wanted to start my talk by giving you a big thank you. I am ashamed to say that as a professor over the years, many times I've said, we better check with the registrar about that. I'm not so sure that, I get really nervous when a student brings me their degree plan and it says here I only have 14 units to graduate, and I'm going to get out here and it's like, am I about to give really bad advice here? I really want to make sure that I'm not giving the wrong thing. So I want to thank all of you for the work that you do. I know that you stand in the gap for many of us who've been in education a long time. And I'm just going to tell you something that one of my friends who has been a registrar for many years says, sometimes I wake up at 4:30 in the morning with just things on my mind about my job. And I just have to get up and do them because I'm not going to go back to sleep. And I have so much to do. And sometimes I find myself getting called away to do other things like, on recruitment day or, orientation day, making schedules and everything. And then I go back and there's a whole other pile of work to do. I really appreciate you for that. My life is a little bit different in the academic empire out there, but I do know that a lot of you are working really hard for all of us and doing a lot of hours. I believe in every aspect of education, there is a soul involved with the work we do. The soul of a teacher and the soul of people who do admissions work and the soul of people who do registrar work. There's sort of a thread that goes through that uniquely defines that job. And when you're really zoned into that thread of what it is you're supposed to do, that's really wonderful, isn't it? And sometimes so many things come up to keep us from, doing our very best. But it's been my experience that some of the greatest people in the university are those who are frontline, helping our students, helping them with their schedules, helping them to make sense of where they're going over the next couple of years, trying to make sense of what's next. And of course, there's always the people who, like me, didn't read the catalog and just took courses that all my friends were taking, only to discover my senior year that there were like, another 12 units of classes that, I'd forgotten to get in and take. So I graduated a year later because they weren't all offered when I need them. So I'm your poster child of needing help from the registrar's office and from admissions. I know that some of you have a lot of vocational challenges out there. If you're like me, and if you're like all the people I know, you probably face a hard workload out there, right? You're probably under a lot of time pressure. I know that you're working overtime. And sometimes I know that you don't really have clear structures telling you this is what we want you to do, or it changes quickly. I also know that you don't always get a lack of say. People will sometimes just say, we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, or we've changed this, or we're going to have new goals for our university. I know that the conflicts can come up because you have to work across the aisle with a lot of people. If you're like all the people I know, these are things that are constantly coming towards you. I call it the tragic gap. I didn't come up with this term. A guy by the name of Parker Palmer came up with it. It's the tension between vision and reality. It's like we could be so good if we would just do this one thing that makes so much sense, but we won't do it. Nobody will give us the money, or we won't hire the person, or we just can't do it. The person we had moved away. No matter what we do or how good we do it, it seems like there's always more to do. And we're always striving to just do our jobs as best we can, but there's that tragic gap. Does anybody, is that just me? Is my school the tragic gap exists? It's like, if we could, I have developed this thing over my years in teaching and administration work. It's, some things make too much sense. You know, it's like, why don't we do this? It makes too much sense. If we were to do it, I mean, we just have, it's just like you would say, debrief, it's over, just makes too much sense, right? So that's what it's going to be. By the way, I want to tell you today that I have a copyright policy on everything you see here, which means you just copy it right down. So if you see anything that will help you, please do that. Now, here's the thing that's going to be sort of the theme for the rest of this talk and the one we'll do later after lunch. I believe that all of us have to walk a very fine middle line as we work with each other. That line has to do with staying present in the moment and all the things that you learned just a few moments ago. But on the one hand, the issues are going to come up that you have to take care of. I mean, the life that I face many times is helping students with a lot of problems, right? Or helping students to find their way in a system that is problematic for them. And on the one hand, I can just ignore it, just keep kicking the can down the road, and we call that denial. On the other hand, I can be kind of attacking. It's like, well, why didn't you pay attention? Why are you just now looking at this? Or I can come up with all the things like, it's your fault that you're in this situation. And this road where you're right in between attacking and denial, this middle path is where you are standing firm in what you need to the things you need to do, you stand firm on. You don't give the store away. You don't do things that you shouldn't do. And at the same time, you don't attack people for not doing what they should be doing. And so how do you stand in that middle ground, be who you are supposed to be, not letting people pull you one way or the other without losing it and attacking people, or just throwing your hands up and just saying, whatever, I'll just do whatever you want. This is really the problems that we all face. Maybe in your family situation, there are times when you lose it, right? Or there's time when you just won't face it. Well, we're trying to say, how does one stand in the middle of all the conflicts that come our way? With all the things that are facing us now, you're going to have to make some choices, right? A friend of mine the other day, I saw him in the restaurant. He's a former student of mine working higher education, and said, how's it going? What's this? Well, we lost a person. I said, oh, that's happening a lot. It says, so they asked me to do it. I said, oh, that's great. No, they're asking me to do that plus what I'm doing. I said, well, are they getting any more money? Oh, no. They're not doing that. Well, there's so much I wanted to say to that young man. There's so much. Because really what he was doing was just not standing in the middle and saying, I'm sorry, there's just one of me. There's just one of me. I can't work 70 hours a week to make up all of this. So he was sort of denying and just letting people do to him what they're going to do. He'll get old and jaded like me, and he'll stop doing that nonsense. Or he could be attacking. What do you mean you're not going to pay me more? I want us to learn how to stand in the middle for what we really need without feeling the need to lose it or just to walk away. So if anything I say today helps you in that regard, that's good. That's good. By the way, when we talk about peacemaking and things like this, I think it's something we all can use, but please don't think that they said, well, we got problems here. These Oacro people, this is a tough crowd. No, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to share. Oh, actually, I'm here because I think I'm free. And no, the other part of it is I just love sharing this information. So please, I hope you can do this. The other things I want to tell you is that take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm not going to give you answers that work in 100% of the time in all situations. And you may have something that you think is a lot better. And please don't say, well, I should stop doing that and do only this. I just use discretion on everything you say. You face 4 kinds of transactions. One is you got to manage yourself. And I hope all of you are being really good to yourself. I hope you're taking time to find some quiet time every day. I get up at 5 every morning. It's the only time I have. And I'm very possessive of that time. That hour of 5 to 6 to me is a very sacred time. I use, that may not work for you. Maybe it's late at night, or maybe it's just a time of the day when it's not 112 degrees where you can walk around the campus or something like that. But I hope you're doing something to manage yourself, because frankly, you're not going to do your job very well if you're a hot mess. And with our work climate nowadays, people are just so willing for you just to work, and just give you so much to do, more than you can put on your, more than you can get done at the end of the day. But you've got to find a way of managing yourself. You've got to learn how to manage above. The things we'll be talking about today work equally well for yourself, up, down, and sideways. There are people telling you what to do, and you quite frankly have to learn how to talk to people above you and say, hey, I got something I want to talk to you about. I want you to consider this. I know you want this. I know you intend for this to come across this way, but the impact it's going to have is going to be different. And so it's important to know how to talk up like. I've known people who are really great talking above because they just know how to talk to people who are their supervisors, but they can be very mean and cruel to people below them. What I hope is that when people come to your office that have no power, that you have a way of dealing with these problems, and it's respectful and gentle and kind and understanding, and yet at the same time standing in the middle. When people need to take care of something, you insist that they do it. And then, of course, managing across. And that's all of your friends who work with you, other departments who have absolutely no power over you, but you've got to work with them in order to get things done. So if we can manage these 4 areas of our life and our vocation and handle all the problems I talked about earlier, you're doing pretty good, right? And so today we're going to give you some ideas on working with some of that. There are 2 kinds of drama: the drama that leads to more drama and the drama that leads to a new mindset. So if you've been facing a lot of pressure or a lot of drama in your workplace, I hope today maybe to give you a few tools that will be helpful. And if you have no drama in your life, congratulations to you. Don't worry, the drama guy is out there sooner or later will find you. I just want you to know that. Today, I'm going to be borrowing, this isn't a TED Talk, it's Ask TED. This is the empowerment dynamic. It's written by David Emerald. It's one of the best little ways of understanding conflict I've ever seen. I've been teaching this subject for a long time, and I just think the ideas are immediately understandable. So today you're going to immediately understand just some it's easy to understand conflict things here. The book is cheap. It's like $10. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on your Kindle. I would say, unless I was going to a desert isle by myself, I'd always keep a copy around because it's one of those books that you can use again. Yeah, it's easy to read. You can read it in an hour. It's written in the form of a story. And the story makes perfect sense. When you read it, you go, yeah, okay. What I'm going to tell you today should make perfect sense. And some of you are going to say, yeah, I know this. I know this. And it talks easy, works hard. Okay. Being a loving person, we know we're supposed to do that, but oh God, some people are really hard to love, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. What is this? What does it look like to you? It looks like a spotlight. It looks like a stage. Do you want to be on the stage, sir? That is the correct answer. You do not want to be on this stage. If you said, yes, I'll be on the stage, I appreciate the fact that you would volunteer, but this is not the stage you want on, because this is the dreaded drama triangle. This stage is, you do not want on this stage. You have been on this stage, and you just didn't know what it was called. Anytime that you have trouble in your life, you're on the stage. By the way, sometimes you can be on stage in your head. You can just be sitting at the table and you're just on that stage. You'll understand more about that in a moment. You don't actually have to be involved with anybody. You just be replaying old drama in your head and be on that stage before you know it. You can be with your best friend, having a good time, your mind goes back, you start talking trash about whoever and whatever, you're on the stage, right? Sometimes it's really fun to be on the stage because we like a little drama in our life. But I'm trying to tell you, after all these years of being in higher education, the more you sing off that stage, the better your life is. I was a faculty senate guy, and I raised hell, you know, and it doesn't do much. All that stuff. I'm going to tell you what a wise professor once told me on his retirement day. And I know it's a little sarcastic, okay, but I know none of you are like that. But just in case you are, here it goes. He said, "Oh, David, don't ever get too worried about things." He says, "You know, if something's really, really good, it's going to cost too much. And they won't be able to keep it up. You know, you just takes too much energy, costs too much money. It's not going to last." He says, "And if something's really, really bad, people are going to get so angry and they're going to fight it, and it's going to go away. You can't keep the bad stuff doesn't last either. In the end, only the mediocre lasts." All right. Well, anyway, that's just a little higher ed joke. The dreaded drama triangle came up by a guy named Stephen Cartman. And he describes these very dysfunctional roles. And the dysfunctional roles are the rescuer, the persecutor, and a victim. And each of you have your specialty place on this triangle. Okay. Personally, I enjoy being the rescuer. Okay. Some of you enjoy being the victim. And others of you are bullies and like to be the persecutor. Uniquely fitted for the jobs that you're doing. Well, I was an administrator, so that worked out well there too. Okay. But this dreaded drama triangle has these three roles. Sometimes you just take turns in these roles right here. The rescuer is basically someone who says, "Oh, please let me help you out. Let me help you. You don't know what to do. I'll take care of it for you." And for those of us who are helping services, and I consider the work that we all do helping services, it's really easy for us to fall into that rescuer role. And so my friend that I was talking about, he's in this kind of business that we're all in, and he's doing what he's been trained to do to help people, but he's overdoing it, right? And so he's becoming an enabler of something that he shouldn't be helping out. There's times where you say, "Yeah, I want to help you, but not at this great cost." Right? There's the persecutor. It's like all your fault. Everything's wrong around here. They're complainers. They're bullies. Nothing is right. They're angry all the time. They're mad all the time. You know the people, they come to work every day. It's just another nail in the coffin. Whatever happens, you know, can't believe what they just did. You know those people, right? They don't like themselves. They don't like you. They don't like the place they work. Then there's the victim. They're hopeless. "Oh my God, you won't believe what happened today. You know, it's terrible being me. It's hopeless, you know, and it's like, I can't ever get anything done. You know, I'm stuck, you know, this victim mentality." Okay, this is a triangle, right? Let's look into each of these roles a little bit. I love to start with the victim. If you notice, the triangle points down. It's like the knife in the back of the victim. That's how they feel all the time. All right, so what's the characteristic of a victim? By the way, as I say these things, I know what you're doing. You're thinking, "I know somebody." I know what you're doing. It's never about you. It's them. Okay, I don't mind that you do that, but I do want to point out that we do this a lot for ourselves. Remember those four roles that I talked about: up, down, sideways, and yourself. We blame others, and they believe that they're persecuted. They think like, you just won't believe, I went to work today and my computer didn't work. You know, the internet was down. I can't do any work. You know, like what did people do back in the day without, you know, the internet? I can't do this. How do they expect me to work like this? Everything that happens, they constantly claim that they can't do anything to help themselves. And there's this little game that they play, "Why Don't You?" And it's called Guess What. Have you heard of the Guess What game? You know people who do this. All right. I need someone who will role play with me. We're just going to do something here. All right. Will you? Okay. Now here's the thing. I'm going to tell you that I'm out of money and I need some money, and you're going to make all kinds of suggestions on how to get that money. Okay? And it's not going to work. Whatever you do, it's not going to work. But don't let that stop you. Keep coming up, and everybody help her out. Tell them, right? Oh my God, you know, it's school's almost out, and if they say if I don't pay, $1,000, that's, I can't walk across the stage, I need some money. Could you loan me $1,000? Man, come on, be helpful. You're going to try to help me now.
Are you employed?
Yeah. No, I don't get a paycheck. I mean, you think I should get a job, right? So tell me, get a job. Well, I'd love to get a job, except I'm in college, and I can work and do that at the same time.
Can you get a student worker job?
What?
Can you get a student worker job?
Oh, those student worker jobs only paid, so little like that. It's not even worth the time for me to do that. And they're so boring. What? What about, man, they charge you like 17% interest, or what is it, 25% interest, 50% interest? I can do that.
So you apply for scholarship.
Sell your blood? No! Like the scholarship? I made an F last semester. All right, well, the point is, why don't you guess? Victims are always, there's nothing you can suggest that will help. Have you ever had somebody come in and nothing you can do? I've had students come in and it's like, I haven't seen them for 4 weeks. And I said, well, like you mentioned, a part of being in college is that you should maybe go to class and hand in the assignment. Well, you don't understand. My stomach has been really upset. No, you should be there. It's everything you mentioned. There's a reason why it can't work. You've met the kind. It's obviously a position of anxiety for most of us, but did you know for some people it's very comforting to know there's nothing I can do about my problems. My problems are just out of my hand. Okay. I know that you don't think you do this, but every time you're complaining about something, that's where you are. You may not be playing the yes, but game, but you are, every time you complain, you're in that mindset of poor me. And by the way, there's times in our life where we really have to understand things happen to people, right? What's the difference between something bad happening to you and being like victimized in some way versus a victim mindset? What do you think? Oh, just like my class. Yeah.
The victim is actually personally being affected because the victim mindset is just somebody that thinks they're being affected. It's just in their mind, they're not really affected.
Yeah, I know this is kind of a gross illustration, but I'm going to tell it anyway. One of my friends is a rehabilitation counselor. And she met a person who, God forbid, got his hand cut off in an accident, just right off. And said, I can't work anymore. Can't work. If I don't have a hand, can't work. Can't work. Just got to go. Wouldn't you know, a year later, met another person, hand cut off. Rehabilitation counselors meet these people. I don't know if it's rehabilitation counselor saying that did it or it's sort of like that Murder She Wrote moment. There was always a murder she wrote. He said, well, what kind of work can I do? Trained for a new job, got a job, started a new life, and yeah, it was a tragedy, but the person went on. One person had what I would call the victim mindset. I will never be able to work again. The other person says, well, this job's over, but I'm going to do it. The solution on all of this victim mindset is we have to help people become creators. Creators say, well, what's the problem? What's the situation? We have to help people work through their problems. And so I've heard that a great thing that you can say to people when they find themselves in this victim mindset is like, well, what do you think we should do next? Or how can you, what will happen if you don't do anything? In other words, you don't, like you just said, no, I'm not gonna give you money. That's a good answer, by the way. Direct to the point. But if I were your friend, you'd probably say, you gotta figure out a way to raise that $1,000, right? Maybe it is to sell your blood. Maybe it's to sell some of your books. Maybe it's to sell your car. Maybe it's to, I don't know, take the student work. Find something, get the $1,000. You can do this. I found myself in a spot one time when my son was getting married, and he said, I'm going to need X number of dollars. I sold all kinds of stuff. Back then it was Craigslist, today it's Facebook Market, but next thing I knew, I had the money I needed. I just didn't have what I needed when he asked. Help people become a creator instead of a victim. The more you can say, what can we do? Where could you go with this? If a person says, I'm gonna have to drop out of school, it's like, does it have to be forever? Or is it just for a period of time? Or can we revisit this? Or is there a way you could do this? Or is there people we could introduce? But we have to change our thinking from, I can't solve this problem to, here's something I might try. Let's see what happens. And for us, when we're feeling particularly troubled about things and we're losing sleep over things, we may be in that victim mindset, or we're feeling like there's nothing we can do. We have to turn our mind and say, okay, I believe that for every problem that faces me, I can find a way forward. I have reinvented myself several times in my career, and I know you will too, but you have to find solutions. So be a creator. Think about the ways that you can create things. There's always something we can do in almost every situation. Well, some of you like this picture, bullies, persecutors. We don't really mean to be mean sometimes, but bullies are basically people who blame others for everything. When something goes wrong, it's always somebody else's fault. And they're angry, they're accusative, they're inflexible. And I like to think that they're a little bit self-righteous and pious. They're the people who are always telling you that you're not quite doing things right, or this is the way we do it. One time, I was in Taos, New Mexico, and they brought our menus out. I had a friend of mine, it wasn't me that fell victim here, but he says, I think I would like to, she raises her hand and says, that's not the way we do it here. I mean, he just wanted to like get it in order. She had this little plan all laid out that we had to follow. I thought it was pretty funny. So my wife and I have this ongoing joke. That's not how we do it here. And in our jobs, we can get that way too, right? We can be like, no, this is how we all do it. And they're always irritated. And they just project that irritation on others. Have you met people like that? I knew a guy one time who was told that he had to have office hours. So he didn't like the idea of having office hours, because he just wanted to do his job and go. That would never happen in your place. So you know what he did? He set it up at 6:30 in the morning. He was there because he was writing his book, and he just said, if anybody wants to see me, they have to see me at between 6:30 and 7:30. Bully. Really was. I mean, this is ways that some people treat others. They're always blaming people. Now, you take this victim person we were talking about earlier. Normally, there's a person who's raining down on them and telling them that they're not doing things right. You deserve what you get, and so forth. It's really based in the fear of losing control. They worry if they don't seize control over people that things just aren't going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. So bullies also think, well, somebody's going to suffer here, it isn't going to be me, right? So some of us in our life have learned what I call the CYA, cover your rear end approach to doing our jobs. Better have the paper trail, better show this. But sometimes we're not doing that out of a sense of due diligence. We're doing it out of a sense of, I'm about to play this card, and then I'm going to show you I gotcha, right? And as a peacemaker, I'm going to try to move you out of that. You don't have to worry about losing control. There is a way you can stand in the middle without. How do you know when you're being a bully? You're blaming people. The other thing that we do a lot is shaming people. I can't believe they would do that. You know, we all are working so hard. Can you believe what a terrible person they are to, you know? Blaming, shaming, and judging people. Are any judgy people in here? Like, that's just wrong right there. I mean, what they're blame, shame, judge, you're the persecutor at that point. It doesn't get us anywhere. By the way, if it would get us somewhere, I would teach you how to do those things. But it doesn't. It won't make for peace. It'll only make your life worse. But the solution is to be a challenger. A challenger is one who says, well, instead of being judgy, it's like, what could we do? What could we do to meet or to raise our standard or to bring it up? Instead of, you're not doing enough, what could we do to get to where we need to go? Do you find yourself building people up in a positive way, or do you find yourself criticizing them for not being enough? That's the difference between being the challenger versus the creator. One of the things that helped me as a student, I was not a very good college student, to be quite honest. I had very poor skills in high school, had very good social skills, but they didn't translate into grades, if you know what I'm saying. And when people taught me some study skills, the idea was, let's see if we could raise your grade a bit. Here's an idea. Let's, believe it or not, for me, it was flashcards. You know, I learned that they're basically going to ask me about 100 questions over terms and things like that. Do I know them? And can I put them in order and say them and write them down and explain the meaning of them? When I learned that one little trick there, my grades just, you know, started going up a lot higher and higher. But that was a challenge that somebody gave. I bet we could change this if you did this. And since I was worried about not staying in school, some of you guys know about that. 5 incompletes. That helped me. I was ready to listen. Be a challenger. Hold people to standards of improvement and accountability. Notice that being a peacemaker here is never about just letting people get away with stuff. I think that's the worst thing we can do. This past year, I've had 2 students, and I would be among every professor standing before you, and this one student said, well, I was wondering if I could just start all over. I have all these absences, and I haven't done this. I was just wondering, I need a fresh start. And I said, yeah, you do. We've got 7 more weeks of class. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you will come every day and start handing in these assignments this way, at the end of the semester, I will give you the fresh start you want, and we'll just pretend this other stuff didn't happen. But you have to do this little program that we worked out. Come every day, do all the assignments going forward, and start handing in that old work, and you should be good to go. Guess what? They wouldn't do it, right? But I held them accountable. Before, when I was doing the rescuing thing, which is the next one, it's like, okay, yeah, it sounds like you've had a bad time. Sounds like you need a break. Let's just go forward, right? But I didn't teach them anything, did I? I didn't hold them to a challenge. So today I learned that we have to. So now let's look to the last one. Givers have to set limits because takers really do. The rescuers, I will bet $100 that there's at least a couple of rescuers at every table here, because people who are helpers are always wanting to, here, let me do that for you. Or here, I can see that, you know, this is really confusing, so let me do that. And by the way, I agree with you. You have what you call one-stops, these places where a person comes in, and no matter what the problem is, you can kind of solve it all right there. I really believe in that. And I really hate sending a kid all over campus. Well, first you see Lowry, and then you go to the other side of campus and see this person and come back, and the yo-yo thing is not really good. But sometimes the sometimes this helping, you can't help enough, is what I'm saying. So we rescue even more than what we should do. Instead of saying, here's the steps you go through, the rescuer is always doing a little bit more. And so they do the person's work for them. Have you ever met anybody who just wants you to, I don't know what to say. Well, I don't know about you, but we have a really super duper system where you can enroll your, pick the classes you want. Well, I don't know what to do. Well, here's your book right here. Let's open it up and show you here. I don't know how to make that. And it's just like nothing short of just somebody doing it for them will be satisfactory. And I found that that's really not the best thing to do with the rescue. It's like, no, we need to teach you how to do for yourself. Already I've had one person call me and say, I've got some extenuating circumstances to need you to know about. I may not be able to come to all your classes. And it's like, well, we have a system for that. Have you done that? Yeah, I have, but I think I'm gonna need you to understand more. Like, well, I'm happy to meet with you on all of that, but our student services are really great people, and they'll tell me exactly what I need to do for you. But missing all my classes won't be an option, right? Even though they probably do have some very extenuating circumstances. So the victim is always wanting a rescuer just to do it for them. So if you give me the $1,000, you could have been a great rescuer, right? You say, oh, where do I send that $1,000? Oh, here, I got a stamp. I'll put it on there for you. Or I'll just walk over there and pay it for you right now. You just sit there. I mean, there's no end of rescuing you could have done. Now, what I want to ask you for a moment at your tables is I've given you 3 roles here: the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. Just take a moment, if you would, and talk about among yourselves, which one do you feel like you fall into, and which one do you see happening around you a lot? I know the stories could fly, but just take a moment. I'd love for you just to talk about, let's have a candid moment, like what do you find yourself falling into, and what do you see a lot around you? Well, are there any complainers in the room? Raise your hand if you find yourself being that victim mentality from time to time. Yeah, I find myself in that complaining mode from time to time. And honestly, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, isn't it? Because there's so much to complain about. It's hot outside today, or or this thing isn't right, that thing isn't right. There's so many things you can find wrong. I found that it's a state of mind, isn't it? Some of us have gotten so jaded in our victim mentality that when somebody's positive, we hate that person. We hate a positive person. It's like, oh, they just haven't been around here long enough. They'll learn. Oh, they're so happy. You know what I'm talking about. I'll tell you one of the things that helps me, and I would like for some of you who've been in the business a while to help me out here. One of the things I do is I find something in my job that's the most important thing to me, which is my students. So I was a dean for 12 years, and then I went back to the classroom, and one of the things I rediscovered once again is the joy of working with students. It is just a privilege and an honor to work with students. Now, some of my friends have this enemy thing going with their students. It's like there's no student that's good enough for them. Their classes, like, they don't work as hard as they should. They're not as smart as they used to be. And I listen to that, it's just nonsense to me, because to me, I'm always looking to every generation that I've taught to see how can I reach them, and how can I be a part of their life? How can I hopefully be a meaningful part of their life? And so if you can just find that thing that's the most important thing to you in your job and make that the focus of serving, for me, it's serving the student. And I put all the other stuff that goes on in my institution to the side. It's like, I know it goes on. I keep my head down and I just keep my students the focus, because that's why I'm there, really. I'm not there to, I used to love being a part of all the gossip and the talk and all the complaining, and honestly, it's still there for me if I want it, right? It hasn't gone anywhere. I can pick it up anytime. It's like a soap opera. It doesn't really matter when you turn it on. It's the same thing. It's just, you know. My wife watches Days of Our Lives. I know this is true. I just watch it and says, I think I've seen it. Is he getting married again? You know, it's like, yeah. So it's getting divorced, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it's always coming up. What are some ways that keep you out of the victim mentality besides what I've given you? You have a little thing that you say that moves you out of that into being a creator or to thinking more positively about your work.
That is done in my office while always
Be thankful. Always be thankful. We have jobs, people. Be thankful. I love that. Yes? Mindful?
It's not what you're looking for, unfortunately. What keeps me from being the victim is I want to be in control, which usually makes me the bully.
I would like you to make them sign the bullet. Okay, that's one way of getting out of the mindset. As a trick, I didn't realize that. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
If I start feeling like I'm the victim, I'll start reminding myself of all the pros of my job and the reason that I love it and why I chose it and choose it every day.
Yes, remind yourself. Use that time in the morning I told you about, or late at night, or taking a walk on the day. I'm very serious about that. If you have no special time for yourself, you're going to fall in this. I mean, you're just going to be eaten alive. You will. I know this is a one thing that means to me, but I truly believe that by my faith, I believe that it says to lay up treasures in heaven. Okay, whatever that means to you. I believe my students are my treasure in heaven. And I think what I'm doing today, if I help any one of you, is a little treasure in heaven. Now, you can translate that into your own thing. If you don't believe in any of that, that's okay, but put something that gets you out of that victim mindset. Find whatever it is to help you. It's worth it not to be there. I don't know about you, but I'm so tired of working with negative people. I really am. And I finally decided I'm not going to be one of them. And somebody says, what are so-and-so, what's going on? What are they saying? What have you heard about so-and-so? And I said, I don't know. I intentionally don't know. I don't want to know. I figured that there's enough nonsense going on to last me a lifetime. I was a part of it one time, I'm sure. I just don't want to know anymore. I want to do my job with positivity. And that doesn't mean that I make excuses for bad decisions and try to put a happy face on it, or as we used to call it, lipstick on a pig. There are some really stupid things that we can do, right? And we need to own that and make it better. But we can all be positive in our job. You had something.
Kind of, courage is not always the line that you want. Sometimes it's the heart at the end of the day saying, I'll try again tomorrow.
I'll try again tomorrow. Right. Right.
I always think, in our family, we have the same choices, decisions, consequences. You always have a choice.
Say it again. Choices what?
Decisions, consequences. So you always
Choices,
have a
decision,
choice
consequences.
Of what mindset you want to be.
You can put your mindset there. I know this is really simple. I know you all know this. I know you all know this, but I just want to bring it up to you because the next time you find yourself complaining to your person at work, it's like, oh, you know, I want the big mouth frog thing to happen to you. And I want you to think, let's change this. I actually have stopped being friends with some of my friends because that's just where they want to be. And I just don't want to be that person anymore. The closer I get to the end of my career, the more meaningful I want it to be. And wherever you are, and if you're in mid-career, man, start making it positive going forward. We need, by the way, if you're headed to leadership, please keep it positive. You just can't. Okay, there's a difference between helping and enabling. What's the difference between helping a person versus this rescuing and enabling?
So something that I honestly learned from my bosses is they will only give you the answer so many times, and then at some point you have to be able to find the answer for yourself. So if you ask the same question 10 times, at the end of it, they're gonna ask you, okay, where can you find that answer? Where do you look for it? How do you fix it? I've told you how to fix it before, but you still don't know. So how do you fix it yourself?
Yeah, and we have to sometimes let people, learning sometimes is not easy. It really is hard for us to do, and our jobs are not always easy. I know some of you are frontline people who are expected to be experts in like computer systems and these crazy programs that you practically need a PhD to understand. We had a program that would get us into our bookkeeping, and it's like, it was awful, right? And the other day I had to fill out a vendor application for UCO. And UCO has a vendor application that will melt the bravest person. I'm looking at it, and here I am with a doctorate degree, and it's like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to put in. This thing you gave us earlier could be the vendor application for UCO. What do? You just do the best you can, right? But yes, there's always something going on. But helping people say, yeah, this is what you do versus doing it for them. Thank you for your help on all this. I want to put a few things up here about when you should help people. There are some things on there that you may agree or disagree with, or you may have a few others you want to add on there, but here's some ideas on when you should help people. You've seen Nunya, right? One day I was in the foyer of my university, and this little guy about this tall, I came and said, "Oh, hi, what's your name?" And he says, "Nunya," like none of your business. And his mother was just like mortified, But I love that. I love that. It's like, you don't need to know this. Mind your own business, Many times we try to help people when it's none of our affair. It's really none of our business. It really isn't always our business to help people. Sometimes we can see people like, they're making a big mistake. It's like, yeah, it's their mistake to make. Sometimes the consequences, you say, oh, that's too big of a consequence for you. I'm not going to let you make that. And it's good to step in when the consequence could be too big. But sometimes it's good to let a person make that fool's errand so they'll learn not to do it again. And so none of your business, the none of your principle. Here's another, are you contractually obligated? That means, do they work for you? Are you going over to somebody else's department telling them how to get stuff done? And, like you guys are idiots and everything. It's very tempting. But sometimes you're not contractually obligated to help another person out or to tell another person what to do. I put this one, does it involve your immediate family? Notice I didn't say your cousin, your aunt, your wife's sisters, whatever. Yeah, if somebody's in your family and you should help them, but that doesn't mean you're supposed to help everybody that's in your lineage, dating back to the Abrahamic roots or something. Have you been directly asked to help? Man, some of us would do really well. Your life will get really simpler if people aren't asking you to help, if you stop offering it. It's like, I have a lot of opinions, right? But just let them do their jobs, right? Do your job, let other people do theirs. If they haven't asked you for help or advice, and by the way, sometimes when people ask me for advice, I really learn they don't want my advice, right? Sometimes they're just checking in, and they've got something else they want to do. I call it the Good Samaritan Act. If somebody's laying by the side of the road, yes, please help them if you can, or see if you can get somebody who will. Reach out and help somebody. And the other one is, could you be objective about it? Sometimes we're just so upset about something, we're not the right person. Or sometimes we have an opinion that is so deeply entrenched and rooted, and we believe something that it's really not, we're not objective. And we should just admit, I'm not the right person to ask this. I have my opinions about things. You have other ideas on when you should or should not help person. These are just ones that I put up here. Maybe you thought of something else, or maybe you want to argue about any of those. Yes, ma'am.
When I see that they're a victim and they just want me to do it, I do not,
When you see someone's a victim and they just want you to do it, you,
do not.
yes, right. Right. It's really good to, when you see a person who's kind of doing that victim thing, just to sit and, sometimes I think those are the great opportunities in our life I like to spend time with people, even the victim people, even the very worst students.
I still give them the support.
I love to do that, but I'm not gonna do it for them.
Exactly.
What's my motive for helping? Ooh, getting to motive. I don't require proper motivation in most things I do, especially if you're helping me. But I think as a person, before I offer help, it's good to know, why am I doing this? And by the way, some of us are doing it out of need and codependence, and that's not a good reason to do it, is it? Thank you on that. We're getting close to the end here, and I'm just going to say that instead of being an enabler, one of the things they say is be a coach. So what does a coach do? Coach gives you the steps, tells you, hey, here's how you should go about this. Let's try it. Let's try it. By the way, I don't know about you, but being raised in a Christian background that thought dancing was terrible, I obviously didn't get much experience at that. And later on, it became okay. Like many other things in my so I took dancing lessons. I was a terrible dancer, by the way. But after doing those steps about 1,700 times, I learned that you can be a decent dancer. It just takes practice, right? Sometimes it's just repetition, again, again, and again. And a coach knows that it's going to take repetition to be good. The people you hire today won't do the job great, but they will get great with good coaching and with challenges. One of the things I've seen in higher ed, and I thought I heard something over here, so I'm going to shuffle it up and just put it in my own words. It goes like this. We see somebody who's not very good, but we just don't want to say anything about it. So rather than offering them coaching or saying, let's try it a different way, we just ignore it and the problem gets bigger. We work around it, we build systems to take care of the defects. So in my institution, we at one point, only 30% of the students were successfully getting through the first English course. 30. Had a lot of D, F's, and W's. And they said, well, they just can't do the work. And then they would have to take it again. So that meant you had to have huge enrollments in the first English course with a huge adjunct budget to boot to take care of all the new students plus the ones that didn't do well. But there was no help to get better, right? So we had a system that nobody would address that just made our lives a lot worse. We do that in college sometimes, don't we? We just have these problems and nobody wants to say anything about it, so we just let it go on and we build these crazy systems around it and live with a problem. And then we get to thinking that's normal and the way it ought to be. But it's not. And by the way, failing 70% of your students is not acceptable. And even if they're not very good at it, that's still not acceptable. We've got to find a way, right? We have got to find a way. And it was a hard problem to solve, but it's important to do this. So a coach keeps you learning how to do it. It encourages you, but it keeps you independent. So today we've talked about the rescuer, the victim, and the persecutor. And we told you that this drama triangle is something you don't want to be on. And I hope today, as I've talked about it, you've thought of people that you've seen do each of those roles. But I hope that there's an introspective part of you that says, yeah, I do that too. I have been a bully at times. I get so annoyed at things that I think I've covered and people should know, and sometimes I'm not kind. Or sometimes I get into this victim mindset, or sometimes I get this hopelessness feeling. It's like nothing I do is gonna matter. And so I just give up. Or I can be in this an enabler. It's like, oh, I'm so smart, I'll just take care of all of this. But learning to stand in that gap means that you avoid this stage by doing those three roles of being the creator and the challenger and the coach. That's how we make sanity in our work. And I'm going to ask you just to consider some of these things later on today, maybe over your talk at dinner table. It goes something like this. So maybe upline when you talk to people, instead of being the complainer, you start being the creator upline. One of the things that I had a lot as a dean was people tell me all the problems, but no one would give me any ideas or solutions. And then I would suggest something, but that didn't meet their spec, right? It really helps if you go upline with creativity as opposed to complaining. It really does. Sometimes the people above you, and you'll know that as you take on these other roles too, is that it's hard to always be on point, right? You need help. Sometimes when you find yourself being kind of a criticizer and you see somebody in your office or a coworker or something and they're just not right, work on challenging, work on creating things that might bring them along. And then of course, avoid overhelping when people need to learn how to do it themselves. And learn to be a little bit okay with people learning. Somebody said that you've been teaching a long time. I have, but I'll tell you what, I didn't learn it. I should give a refund for the first few years I taught. I would not have wanted to be in that class. I met a board member who had been in my class the first year I taught. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you were fine." It's like, no, I wasn't. In my head, I was fine. But we developed, don't we? Well, that's all I have for now. I think it's close to lunchtime. I'm going to hand the mic over to Crystal. She knows what she wants you to do.